You know the story behind this radio, right? I know I've told it to you.
I remember that there was a story and the radio was in it.
I kind of remember it. It's about your grandmother helping a soldier with a badly burned face.
No, I think that's the English patient.
I remember the story about great-grandma. There was something about a spy, right?
Wait, we have a family story with a spy in it? Why don't I know this?
I guess it's been a while since I've told it. You might have been pretty little. Do you guys want me to tell it again?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to hear about our family spy story. Yes, tell it again.
I mean, we were cleaning the closet, but go ahead.
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV, from musicals to bottle episodes to a thriller surrounding a rediscovered family heirloom. I'm David Arnold.
And I'm Derek B. Gale, and I feel like this podcast is like 80% crying baby and not enough spy.
It's coming, Derek. You got to trust me here. I really, I was trying to figure out what would you use as your pull quote for this, and I also was going to suggest as a contender, my head is mostly Dynasty trivia, which is like one of Linda's last lines, and it made me howl.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, of course, this episode, we're talking about the episode Radio No You Didn't from Bob's Burgers. If you're not familiar with the program Bob's Burgers, it is an animated series focused on the Belcher family, Father Bob, wife Linda, and kids Tina, Jean, and Louise, who all work at and live above the titular restaurant Bob's Burgers in a fictional New Jersey city. The show has been on air since January 2011 as part of Fox's Sunday night animation series, sometimes under the title Animation Domination, inheriting the post-Simpsons slot, which was held by King of the Hill and The Cleveland Show in the years prior. Derek, what are your experiences with Bob's Burgers?
I remember when it first came out, I was a big fan of home movies. So to know that there is another show that had like the same DNA, like a Lauren Bouchard and H. John Benjamin collaboration, I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I think like a lot of other people, a little bit wary of it because Fox hadn't had a great track record with adult animated comedies that weren't Simpsons, King of the Hill, or Family Guy, obviously. And it also like looks ugly character design wise. They're grotesque character designs, which, I think years down the road now, it's like you kind of you've grown to love them, I think. But at the time it's sort of like, what? Another show like this? Like, why do they have to look and to this day, every time a fucking adult animated show comes out, it's just sort of like, why do they have to be the ugliest characters ever put on this planet? It's so weird. I mean, I still think the character designs are like weirdly ugly. I don't understand them, but the writing is good and the actual, even though it's sort of that like kind of puppety animation that things are now, they find really, really elegant like flourishes with them. It's a really beautiful looking show a lot of the time. So it's just like, it's good. So I think it overcomes the design style that I don't like, but it's good. It's funny. I haven't really kept up with it consistently, but for the first few years, I definitely watched it regularly for sure.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this notion of animated series being kind of ugly when we first seen them. Like, you and I are too young to answer this question, but like, was The Simpsons ugly when people first saw it? And then, I mean, I guess if I go back and look at like Tracy Ullman shorts, like they're ugly to me because I know what they will become. So I don't know. I wonder if that's just but then I think about something like Dead End, where it was gorgeous from like start to finish.
Yeah, but that wasn't an adult animated comedy. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the difference is, like Big Mouth, I think is like the big example for like modern day. But even, I don't know. I think it kind of depends. I mean, like Beavis and Butthead and like King of the Hill, like that design style too. It's just, I can see people, it's very different from, I think, what modern, grotesque adult animation is. But I think those character designs also, like, they're not pretty, but I don't know that when I first started watching King of the Hill, I was like, this is ugly. And then like grew to love it. I feel like it was sort of like, it does look like something at least. I think that, I don't know. I think it's like the wildly exaggerated flat art style that a lot of adult animation has. That's what's sort of that's what's sort of weird. Family Guy, you know, at the time was the same way too. Like obviously like that became like the Seth MacFarlane like house style for a lot of those shows, but like it was the same deal where it's just sort of like they're just like very flat, ugly character designs.
Yeah. I think the other thing that Bob's has going for it is that we show characters head on a lot, which is sort of like a big no-no in like the Family Guy style, the Simpsons style. Even King of the Hill doesn't use it a lot. And because of the flat art, their noses are penises, right? I mean, it's the me penis nose from when we used to make little virtual avatars on the Wii.
Yeah. And I think Bob's maybe utilizes that a little bit better for comedy, though. Like, even though visually on paper they're again ugly character designs. I'm sorry, they just are. I think a thing that makes this show sort of charming is that it's almost like they're characters that are ugly and they kind of know that they're ugly and they don't care, like the characters themselves. Like they almost can kind of use that where it's just sort of like, no, they're not, even though Bob Belcher is a sex symbol, he's obviously not like, they're not all drawn to be like that. And I think the characters themselves are sort of like, yeah, we know we're this like bunch of ugly, like freaks or gross freaks, but we love ourselves anyway. And like, that's kind of part of the joy of the show, you know?
I like that read a lot, Derek, because in a lot of ways it makes it easier to relate with them as a working class family, which is very different than other animated series where it's sort of in La La Land where the money comes from and how they can go on extravagant trips or whatever. And you don't need to ask questions because it's a cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. I think I've told this story before, but I got into Bob's Burgers because somebody who was on my team at work said that I sounded like Linda. No, it sounded like Tina. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll check this out. And I didn't really vibe with that I sounded like Tina. But in an episode where Bob teaches Tina to drive, she makes this sort of guttural, long-sounding noise. And I did make that noise at work a lot when I was frustrated, which is just sort of a... and that is something Tina does, I guess, on a fairly regular basis on the show.
That makes... So it's not like your vocal intimation isn't like Tina, but the noises that you make are similar. That tracks. That does make sense. Okay. That is still kind of a weird thing to say to a person, like, you sound like Tina, and it's like that's not how a thing that, I don't know. You would take that a very particular way, and that's not the way it was meant to be taken.
Stoked you bring that up, Derek, because this person on my team, who I was like their boss, then became very, very uncomfortable that she had said this and wouldn't talk to me for weeks.
Oh my God.
And I finally had to be like, I'm not her. Like this is like, do your job. Like, that's all that matters here. Like, but don't like avoid me because you said this thing. Like, it's really fun.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
Yeah. God bless. And you know what? It got me into watching Bob's. So really, what harm was done here? You gave me this excellent series to check out and spend some time with, and I have really enjoyed it and had a blast with it. I haven't seen every episode, but I did a pretty good Hulu watch during the pandemic, and just joy. Every episode is just sort of this easy thing to slip on. It's
wild how long the show has been on and how many episodes there are. But so I'm like, I've seen a lot of it because I watched, like I said, the first few years of it really consistently, and then I just drop in every so often after that. But I probably still only seen like a third of the show or something, probably at this point.
Seriously, yeah.
But I mean, I've never seen an episode that I didn't like when I watched it, I think, which is kind of a miracle. Like, it's interesting because it's like, it doesn't feel like classic Simpsons where every episode is like kind of like a revolutionary like banger that's like changing comedy forever or whatever.
Right.
But like every episode of Bob's Burgers is at worst extremely solid and still very funny. Like, and the ones that and there still are some episodes that are sort of like, this is going to go down in history as one of the greats for sure. You know, so yeah.
Did you catch the Bob's Burgers film when it was out during the pandemic?
Not in theater. It did go into theaters, right? I think it did, because that's the reason it took so long to come out.
That's right.
Because
they waited.
They were very much like, if we're going to do this, we have to put it in theaters, because otherwise what's the point of making a movie, which I understand. So I didn't see it when it was theaters, but I did see it on HBO Max when they put it on there, and I liked it. I think I liked it just fine. It didn't blow me away,
Yeah.
and I don't really remember a lot that happened in it, but it was fun. It was fun. I liked it.
Well,
I think
honestly, one of the
better than
one
the
of the best-
Simpsons movie, I guess, if you
Well,
want to put
I agree.
comparison out.
And I think why is that it just felt like a movie long episode of the TV show.
Yeah.
Like there was an A, a B, and a C plot, which is fine. It had the regular emotional stakes of it, just more money. And I think that's kind of fun to do for a movie, is just do a big
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, I
Versus
guess-
The Simpsons that is like, we have to like nail your heart into the ground to like sell this one moment that's already been sold to me for this family before.
Yeah, I think sometimes the movie versions of a show sometimes feel like they have the need, they feel like they have to have the need to like break the reality in some way or something.
Right.
Or to like make it big and important, when especially something like this where it's like, it's not like this is after the show's been canceled and it's coming back. Like the show's just running right now. It's just, they're just capitalizing on the show's popularity and telling a bigger story than they normally do. And I think that's a nice route to take for it. This isn't my go-to example. It's not an adult movie, but it is an animated movie. The movie that for Doug, which was hilariously titled Doug's First Movie, and then they never did another one after that.
As they should not have.
Right, but the fact that like the whole premise of that show is that it's like, even though it's a cartoon and they all like look silly and are many different colors, like at the end of the day, it's just like a show about regular like kids, in a
teenagers,
real life. And then the movie comes out and it's like, what if a monster was real? And it's like, well, what's the point? Why is this a Doug movie? It doesn't make any sense. Like that's the whole purpose of the show, that it's a fantasy now. Anyway, that's always just on my mind whenever I think of bad animated movie adaptations.
I like that Doug is always on your mind, Derek. That helped fill in some trivial gaps for me about you. Well, this series, Bob's Burgers, was created by Lauren Bouchard, as Derek mentioned earlier. He previously created Home Movies, which I watched after the fact, along with Lucy, the Daughter of the Devil. A wild show.
I've never seen that one. I have not seen it.
Maybe you'd like it, because if you said I didn't like Home Movies, so
Okay.
my impression of Lucy, the Daughter of the Devil, was on par. But his start in work, Lauren Bouchard, was as a writer on Dr. Katz, and you know that I fucking love Dr. Katz.
I'm surprised that you like Dr. Katz but didn't like Home Movies.
Yeah. I get Home Movies. I get the interest of it. It just felt very, and I know Dr. Katz was too, but it just felt very improv-y to me.
How far?
Home Movies.
I will say it's very different after the first season, so I don't know how far you got into it.
I
It's
think I probably
much
only
more-
fucked with like 2 episodes.
It's. I mean, so it changes pretty, because it was one of those cases where it was like they aired like 5 on UPN before it immediately got canceled, and then Adult Swim picked it up for more. So like it's a pretty,
okay.
there's a shift just within the first season, because some characters get like Paula Poundstone was only in the first few episodes, and then she leaves, and then it sort of gets steadily less improv-y. It's always a little bit improv-y because that's the point, but it gets less improv-y and more scripted and a little more plot centric, which I'm sure some people, didn't like about it. But I think that like most of my favorite episodes come from like after season 1, when it's a little bit more of a sitcom, but still has the improv element and gets a little more high concept sometimes too.
Well, I will check that out, because of course I didn't catch it live. I was only watching it because I was like, this it keeps swirling around me, and I think I should finally put eyes on this. And then I was like, and then maybe the problem was like I built it up in my mind.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's also it's a very small show. I think it really thrived on Adult Swim, being like an early Adult Swim show, because it's like it is the perfect show to watch like very late at night when you're like either half asleep or like high or something like that, or just like in the dark alone in the quiet, because it is just mostly just people talking to each other, really, is all it is. But that's kind of the appeal of it too at the same time.
Yeah.
So
And then Bouchard has gone on. He continues to work on Bob's Burgers, but created the Apple TV Plus animated series Central Park, which shares the flat penis nose visual style with Bob's Burgers. Have you watched Central Park, Derek?
No, I'm trying to remember that one. I get that confused with the other. No, because similar times, Central Park and Great North came out.
Oh, yeah.
Which he didn't create, but he's like involved with. If I'm
There's a lot of almost every other producer shares the credits between Bob's Burgers and Great North.
Yeah.
But Bouchard himself was more like a creative consultant, I guess.
Okay.
But to me, if you were to say, did this man also create this series? And I looked at Great North, I'd be like, yes, that looks identical,
Yeah.
but it's not.
That's so funny. I watched the pilot to Great North and actually did like it.
I like
but
Great North.
I didn't stick with it after the pilot, but it seemed like I'd like it. Central Park, I don't even really I know that show existed, but I don't even remember. I didn't watch it, but I don't even remember seeing like ads for it or anything like that.
Well, it was an Apple TV Plus show, so of course you saw no
probably
ads for
why,
it.
actually,
They don't
that
do
makes
anything
sense.
to
Never mind.
promote any of their.
Is it still on, or has that been canceled already?
I think it actually was renewed. It's very musical, like very very musicals all the time. The cast is pretty stacked. It's not for me.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think there are way better things to watch on Apple TV Plus if you have a subscription.
Sure, that sounds fine. I don't need another adult animated sitcom in my life, so I'm
No.
fine.
No.
This January, what is the juiciest, meatiest, most mouth-watering grand opening of the year?
Gene, drum roll, please. Okay, enough.
It's Bob's Burgers, opening this January
Gene.
on Fox.
Well, the episode of Bob's Burgers that we're talking about, it's season 13, episode 20, entitled Radio No You Didn't, which I know that there's multiple titles of the show that are like plays on Oh No You Didn't. This
Yeah.
is one of the sweatiest ones, I will say. Radio No You Didn't. Like, I get what they're doing here, but there are so many better puns you could have come up with for like old-timey radio or the word radio or like something on the spy element or something like that, or World War II. Well, I can't imagine. I feel like this was so like first draft. Like this was just what was scribbled on the paper when they were writing it.
Yeah.
They just never went back and actually changed it to a real title.
I share this with you because I was certain. I know that they've done like UFO No You Didn't, which I think is probably the cutest version of
That's
this.
the best one. I like that one. Yeah.
I was so certain that I was just missing something that I went down a rabbit hole being like, why is it named this?
Because it's a bad pun. It doesn't, when you read it, it doesn't read like, oh no, you didn't. It reads
Right.
like there's some other, it reads like a complicated sentence structure that you can't
Yep.
parse.
So I was certain that there was some like obscure radio play called Radio You Did that I just didn't hear about or never knew, but was expected to know for the title of this. Yeah. And I went down this forum dive that everyone was like, no, it's just stupid. It's just dumb. It's just a dumb title.
It's so funny. I mean, that's the worst part about this episode, I will say.
Oh
It's
yeah,
otherwise
it's
really
a
good.
great episode.
The original air date was April 30th, 2023. This is a very recent one. I think if you're listening to this like in real time, I think like literally the most recent season that is streaming is this season. So
Yeah, and part of that is because of the strike, and so there hasn't been a ton of new content that's been developed. So it's a recent episode. It's a really great one. I only caught it because I was watching some new episodes of Bob's after we covered Linda Belcher on Are You My Mother, and so I was like, oh, let me see what the family's up to these days, and I caught this one, and my jaw dropped when I saw the final credits and the big guest of the episode who we're here to talk a little bit about, Cristin Milioti. I had no idea it was her voice as the character Alice, who the story is about.
how could you? It's like not her. It's so funny because it's one of those things where like Simpsons obviously gets has gotten a lot of criticism for this. I mean, I guess since like season 15 or something. So
Yeah,
what, like
seriously.
20 years now. But like, you know, at a certain point, a lot of times when a guest star comes, the guest star just plays themselves.
Right.
And I think that's a trap that a lot of, especially like adult animated sitcoms of this ilk falls into. Family Guy does too, where it's like you cast the big name, but you want to make it clear, like, well, we want people to know that this is the big name. So they're either going to play
Right.
themselves or play a character that's very close to themselves. So it's always a real joy when you have someone, I guess like Cristin Milioti, like, even though she will be well known in a lot of spheres, it's not like she's a movie star, you know, she is, I think she's still very much in like a character actor sort of category anyway. So it makes sense. But even still, they could have been like, the lady from How I Met Your Mother is guest starring,
Right.
and instead they just cast her to play a character and put on a voice just like a voice actor would,
Right.
and sound very different from how she normally does in any other thing that she's ever in.
Yeah, she's so good at it. The role of Alice is just it's all done in some subtle voice work, and I'm really excited to be able to talk about her this episode.
Also, speaking of her, I need to go down on this tangent real quick
Let's do it.
because I've definitely I definitely have felt Mandela affected a little bit. Because for the longest time, forever, for the whole history that I've ever known who Milioti is, I have always seen that her name was Cristina Milioti, and it's never been Cristina Milioti. It's always been Cristin Milioti. And on our last episode, I call her Cristina a couple times. I re-recorded one time, so there at least at one point in editing, I re-recorded it, so at least at one point, one of us would say her name correctly, because you call her Christini, you call her Christina. Yes. I only called her Christina. And in the notes, it was like in places where I copied and pasted it, it would be Cristin, but in places where one of us wrote it, we would write it wrong. And it drove me, and it literally was like, we did the episode, I fully was editing it, and it was when I was like writing the synopsis for the show notes, and I just like Googled just to make sure I was spelling her last name right. And then I'm like, Cristin, what? That's okay. That's got to just be like a nickname or something. And I'm looking on the Wikipedia page and I'm like, she's literally never anywhere been called Christina. And so, and I really do feel like I fell out of a very similar parallel universe where that was always her name, because I have read it as Christina forever. And I feel like I've heard it as that. And in between recordings, we would refer to her as that, but that was never her name. It was always Cristin, which is so funny because I feel like we like planned this whole little month of like Milioti May, which we said on social media. I don't know if we ever said it on the actual podcast.
It's always Milioti May.
Yeah,
it's always Milioti May.
We're doing 2 episodes in a row with Milioti in it, and we didn't even have her fucking name right. It's so annoying to me.
You know what, Cristin? If you're out there, I apologize, because I too fell into this. I contributed to the notes, but I also remember listening back to the episode and hearing myself say it and be like, "What the fuck, David? That's not her name." So even though it came out of my mouth, it caught me while I was listening to it in my ears. It was, I think, wild.
Because you were listening to a version of yourself from a parallel universe where that was actually your name.
Wow, our listenership's really bulked up since we started interdimensionally podcasting, Derek. That's great.
Good.
Well done.
Well, the synopsis for IMDb for this episode is: Bill tells Linda and the kids the story of how an old broken radio that belonged to his grandmother Alice helped her discover that a German spy lived in her building.
I don't know how this happened, Derek, but you just called Bob Bill.
Bill?
Yeah.
What? Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. I will blame it on
Derek -1 is really fucking with the system.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, everyone knows Bill's Burgers and Bill Belcher. And with the episode that Cristina Milioti guest starred on.
I would love a Bill's Burgers series. That would be so amazing. Just like the Wish.com version of Bob's Burgers.
This is freaking me out. Maybe I'm just about to have a brain aneurysm or something.
No. Touch your fingers together. Make sure you can do that. It's great.
Really?
Great. Derek's fine, listeners. Derek's fine.
The episode was written by Holly Schlesinger, who is a prolific writer, animation writer specifically, who's worked with Bouchard on home movies. Lucy, Daughter of the Devil, has 77 writing credits for Bob's Burgers, running the whole gamut of writing credits. And she was a production assistant and intern for Dr. Katz. So
isn't that cool?
I love that.
If you're not familiar with Katz, it's like it's old animation. It's old adult animation.
Yeah. It's that one. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a thing that like for the younger folk has been sort of lost to the ether, because it's not a thing that was like, it's not like Dr. Katz memes aren't all over social media. It's not a show that was like rerun or anything a lot. Like I very rarely ever caught the show, but it is very, like if you are interested in like the history of comedy and especially animation and adult animated comedy, it is very like important and influential in the sort of, I mean, a lot like what like home movies and Bob's Burgers is, like a very dialogue driven and like utilize like alt comedy people in the show, like got comedians and stuff in the show and stuff like that, which, you know, was really cool at the time. So it's definitely a show worth looking into if you are unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, when we were getting ready to move and I was making Mike rip all the DVDs before we left the States, since we don't have a DVD player anymore, he did so for Dr. Katz, which was great, but he only ripped the French audio. And so now I have to learn French to watch old episodes of Dr. Katz, which is devastating, Derek.
Wow.
Yeah. It's fine. I'll learn French for you, Dr. Katz.
Or you could probably just like torrent it from somewhere.
I should. I know. Well, the thing is, I was like, oh, I could probably just watch it online somewhere. That is, it is
it's
nowhere
not
streaming
anywhere, right? Yeah.
No. The Dilbert cartoon is streaming, but not Dr. Katz. So we as a society have veered off somewhere.
Yeah. We need to go back to the Billsburgers, Cristina Milioti universe where Dilbert has been wiped from all memory, and Dr. Katz is on all streaming platforms, widely available.
Oh no.
This episode was directed by Ryan Matos. This show is his biggest credit. He's directed 27 episodes of it, and also worked as an animator on a number of other episodes, including the Bob's Burgers movie. But this is pretty much the main thing that he has worked on.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I assume being an animator and directing animation, that makes a lot of sense. Like you need to have an understanding of how things work in order to make the artistic vision of the episode come together.
Yeah, I think that's very common to move between those two spaces for sure.
This is a gorgeous episode, though. Some really stunning still pictures.
Yeah, this episode looks really. I mean, that's the thing. So like. And I think it's kind of part of what they're doing with this episode, right? So like the gimmick of this episode is that there's this whole genre shift, right? Like Bob's Burgers, it's about a family running a restaurant, and like even though it's a cartoon, this is kind of, I mean, this show in a lot of ways is kind of like a spiritual sequel to King of the Hill more than it is The Simpsons, in that it is generally very grounded. There aren't really fantasy elements in Bob's Burgers. If they play in genre, it's always like there's always some way to justify how they'd be sort of entering a different genre. Like their Halloween episodes are always really fun, and they will have suspenseful spooky things happen, but you're not going to have literal like monsters and ghosts and shit in a Halloween episode. So if they play in genre, they have to like find some way to justify it and rationalize it in their sort of grounded reality that exists here. So in this case, they have a genre shift to this like sort of paranoia thriller, like kind of Hitchcock-y and kind of thriller. That's also a period piece that's about uncovering a German spy during World War II, all featuring brand new characters. And it's all like narrated through flashback by the Belcher family in the present day about like their grandmother and great grandmother, essentially. Back in World War II. So I think with that, for one, you have the period piece element with these new characters. So these are all brand new character designs and brand new set designs. Like this is a completely new show that they're creating for this one episode. And I think they also, I think, use that inspiration of like kind of a period piece Hitchcockian thriller to start like playing with like camera techniques, and imitating like camera techniques and like the way that they zoom in on things, the way that they pull focus, like and I think that inspiration then leads to like these really beautiful animated flourishes throughout the episode. Like definitely one of the best looking Bob's Burgers episodes I've ever seen. Yeah.
And it's not to say that like the diner doesn't look bad. Like Bob, I mean, it looks like it's in the style of the series, but this 1941's Brooklyn is just incredible looking. It just is so amazing to look at.
Yeah, it's really well done. I think even like the color scheme of this episode, I think they really nail it. Like they do a lot of like, I feel like my memory of it is that it's like sepia toned, even though it's not. I think because a lot of the sets have a lot of browns.
That's what it is.
Like a lot of shades of brown in it,
Well, and they're playing with light a lot, especially during the like physical climax of the episode, where they're like lighting a character from behind, which is one of those things that you need to do in real life, but you don't actually need to do in a cartoon. Yeah. So it's more apparent to us when these things appear in cartoons, whether or not you notice them. They're just a little bit more impactful, and we'll talk about that with some of the camera stuff, which is just really, really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tried to look for some information about making this episode, and if you Google Cristin Milioti Bob's Burgers, the seventh thing that comes up is us announcing that we were doing this on Twitter, which made me really happy. And I just wanted to say that, like, good job SEO for the two people searching that.
And I will also fact check it, because when I first read this note from you, I'm sort of like, probably because you're logged in and it's using your data. Oh. So I did check on like incognito mode, which, not 100% reliable necessarily, but like technically not logged in, and those are still the same results even when you're on incognito mode, which is pretty cool. So yeah.
I will say that I use DuckDuckGo, even though I said Google, because it is Maybe I'm getting less personalized responses, but
That's good.
maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know. All search engines are pretty fucked now, I think. Unfortunately.
You know what? DuckDuckGo. Derek will change his tune if you sponsor the episode. So throw us some cash and we'll say good things about your search engine.
Yeah, I'm happy to make some duck puns. Quack, quack all day, baby.
Oh my God. I did find a pop culture article that posits that the casting of Milioti might have been to promote her new series, The Resort, where she appears with William Jackson Harper. By the way, the first time I'd heard of this, and I would describe myself as a Milioti fan.
And William Jackson Harper.
Thank you. You know that I'm a William Jackson Harper fan. It looks good. It's on Peacock, and I have no idea how to use that. So if you know, please let me know.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it could. I mean, that's... I think it's possible that maybe her agent was trying to get her on places to get her name out there more than, which could then help promote a show that she's involved in potentially. I don't know that like this episode was written with that purpose in mind so much as that she got on their radar for casting because their agent probably emailed them about it or called them about it or something and asked her to audition. So, but
she does stand out for the guest cast that's there. She's a bigger name, for example, than Linda Larkin, who I was like, oh, well, I know of this person, but I don't think of them in like a star caliber. Who played Gertie?
I thought it was Linda Lavin. That was Gertie.
Linda Lavin. Linda Larkin is the Nega Universe version of this. Linda Lavin, thank you. Linda Larkin, who is that? That's someone else in my mind. That is.
I'm trying to. Well, because that's what threw me. Because I'm like, Linda Larkin is someone though, right?
Oh my God, she's Jasmine. Yes, that was just a brain fart thing.
Okay, well, because the only reason Linda Lavin stuck out to me, I mean, I know that Linda Lavin is like obviously is like famous and stuff. Like she's did. I know that she was on the show Alice, for example. But the reason she stuck out with me was for the Simpsons joke that I never understood for the longest time. I double checked like where it came from, so I can tell you exactly what it was. It was from Cape Fear in season 5.
Give it to me.
Bart, I figured it out. Who's someone you've been making irritating phone calls to for years?
Linda Lavin?
No, someone who didn't deserve it.
And I've never fucking understood that joke because what the fuck? What did the Simpsons have against Linda Lavin? What did she do? And I don't know that I've ever known the answer to that question.
That is hilarious.
I think it was just a funny, like,
it's just a funny
think it
pull.
was just, it was just, they thought the name was funny and they just threw it out there. It's just random. And it's like just random humor, but it's so hyper specific that it always stuck with me. And then she shows up in this episode and all I can think of is the Simpsons jokes that I never understood.
I know that she was in a ton of things and she was like a prolific stage actor, but I only know her from, she was Sean Hayes' mother on his, I think, short-lived sitcom. I think it only ran for a season.
Didn't know he had his own sitcom.
Yeah, I think he was playing a heterosexual in the sitcom too, and I think that was a mistake.
Why didn't they just, I mean, not that I needed or wanted this, but why didn't they just do a Will and Grace spinoff with his character if they really wanted to give him a sitcom? Like,
I don't know.
Not saying that would have done any better, but it would have had a slightly better chance of existing than Sean Hayes playing a heterosexual in a sitcom, which I don't think anyone on this planet would ever be in for.
And I think we watched like 4 episodes of it, and I think that was a cancel in the household. And I think I did check, it only ran for 1 season.
Cool.
22 episodes though. Good job, Sean Hayes. Get your money.
Sure. I guess so. The only other thing that I thought was interesting with the making of this episode, this is all obvious. This is all just like speculation because there isn't any like writing or anything that we can find.
Yeah.
But I was just looking through the Bob's Burgers Reddit because they do actually have a very active Reddit community and a lot of people on there like. Reddit is obviously very hit or miss, but like when it's hit, it's good. And it does seem like a very smart community. I got some like references and stuff about this episode that like I would have never gotten otherwise. But they made the assertion that like, it kind of makes sense that Bob's Burgers would do something related to old timey radio at some point, because it at certain points, I wasn't able to find where this quote came from, but they're saying that like Bouchard has likened his work to like old timey radio before, because all of the stuff, Bob's Burgers, Home Movies, Dr. Katz, all the stuff like that, super dialogue driven, like rapid fire dialogue, the kind that you would find in like classic radio plays. So it does make a lot of sense that radio's always just going to be kind of in the ether for anyone making this show, because that's sort of what the basis of it is sort of in. So ergo, it makes sense that like radio, the word radio would just end up on a note card at some point and evolve into this episode that sort of spawned out of the idea of old time radio.
That like radio drama thing really resonates with how I watched Bob's Burgers, which was that I had it playing on an iPad while I played Animal Crossing during the early pandemic. Like, because I needed something that was a little bit more stimulating than Animal Crossing, but nothing that I needed to pay like super close attention to, like, I don't know, War and Peace or something. Yeah. So this was one of the ways that I watched Bob's Burgers.
That's why I like home movies a lot. Cause like the show doesn't look very good visually, but if you're just listening to people talk and it's like funny enough as it is, because that's the majority of it anyway. Yeah. I think Bob's Burgers definitely kind of follows along with that. There is more art in the visuals in this show than in home movies, for example. But I think if you were to just listen to a reading of the script or listen to the audio of an episode, it still will play very, very well. And you're still going to get the majority of the jokes out of it.
And in this episode, the interstitials with the kids and Linda listening to Bob tell the story are so rapid fire. Like there were funny things that were said and I was trying to get them from the notes and I just had to pause because it was just going too quickly.
It's wild. It's sort of like, it's one of those things where it's like, on one hand, it's like, it's filling every second with dialogue. There's never a second in this episode where someone isn't talking.
Yes.
But I think like it also, so it's like, I can't tell if it was written like that or if they wrote the World War II story first and then found any moments where there wouldn't be dialogue, where it's just like where she's just walking down a hallway or something and they're like, we got to fill this with something. And then they like insert as much dialogue from the narration as possible in those like quiet moments. And I think I'm not sure exactly what method they used to do it or a combination of both. Either way, what it lends to is this really interesting idea where you have this like tense, like paranoia thriller that's honestly played straight. Like there's the elements of it are funny. There's like pigeon poop as like a major clue or whatever. Yeah. But for the most part, the actual plot structure, it's played extremely straight. It's not a parody of that type of story. It's like it's like a Rear Window kind of story. There's like red herrings. There's a mystery that you can solve yourself if you're putting together the pieces. It's all there. So they're able to sort of play the story straight without it being a parody, but still get all the comedy from it because you get these little comments from the present day characters breaking the tension anytime things are getting a little too serious.
Yeah, what I wrote down in my notes was like MST3K almost. Like it almost had the vibes of like somebody spoofing on it, but then to sort of like talk against my argument there, it's not that the kids are spoofing on it. They're just goofy kids. Like Louise by the end of this is like, shut the fuck up. I want to know what happens in the story.
Yeah. No, I think that's a big factor in it. I think the kids are very into it and want to hear it. And the only times that there's ever a criticism or complaint is when it's like, this isn't moving fast enough. I want to get to the cooler shit because I know that, but that still itself is coming from excitement about hearing the story. I do think that that's a little different because there is a cynical version of this where you do just have kids going full like riff tracks on it and are just like tearing apart Bob's story or whatever, making fun of it. And it's like, no, they are acting like how a kid would act if their dad was taking too long telling this really cool story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for you and I who are raised on Bart and Lisa listening to stories from Marge and Homer of them just being like totally disenfranchised by the end of the story. It's so nice to even have the youngest Louise who's sort of the rebel and sort of the one who you'd expect to be like, I hate this because it's about like Nazi spies and she's into it.
Yeah. I mean, that is a thing that I think makes Bob's Burgers feel of a different generation than like Simpsons was, is like the lack of cynicism that this show has. And like, to be clear, I love the very, very specifically 90s cynicism of the Simpsons, but like, that's not where we're at in the 2010s, 2020s, you know?
Right.
So it makes sense for this show to like it can still have dark humor and dark things happen, and like self-deprecating humor and self-aware humor like the Simpsons did, but the characters themselves aren't particularly cynical, and that already just gives these types of things. When they do these sort of parodies or satires or homages, it gives it a very different edge than when The Simpsons would do this type of parody, for example.
Right. So we start instantly with opening credits. And in the opening credits, you get a couple of visual gags. The whatever retail establishment is next door to Bob's Burgers changes every episode. And so this one, it is Sell Me Something Wood, Unpainted Furniture. Clever. I like it. And the exterminator truck that rolls into Bob's always has a different name. And this episode, it wasn't supposed to be this way, with a little B on it.
That's cute. I also appreciate that they like change it up after the movie, and like they have a little sinkhole bit.
Yeah.
In the credits.
That's right. Because this season is post. I clocked the sinkhole, but I didn't think about it. This is the second season post movie. That's great. We find ourselves, the whole family is in Bob and Linda's bedroom. Linda is cleaning out the closet after some stuff fell on her head, and she felt like it was long overdue that they got rid of some things. And she unearths a radio, which Bob identifies as belonging to his grandmother, Alice. Linda recommends throwing it away since it's unfixable, but Bob says it's an heirloom, and he offers to tell them the story about it.
That's my grandma Alice's radio.
Your Grandma Alice's unbelievably heavy radio. What does this thing have bricks in it?
Possibly. I think people used to like things that were heavy.
I remember that radio, sort of. Hi.
Bob, I know this is your grandma's, but maybe it's time to say goodbye. I mean, didn't the guy at the repair shop say it was totally unfixable?
Like, that's posture.
But Lynn, we can't get rid of the radio. It's a family heirloom.
This is an heirloom? You guys couldn't have handed us down, like, a bunch of fancy gold forks or something?
Well, does it at least play MP3s?
No. When it worked, it had AM and FM, and this one had shortwave, which is really cool. You can listen to broadcasts from all over the world.
If it worked, it could do that.
Yes.
But it doesn't because it's broken.
Right.
Maybe a fun fact. This is another thing that was like, the Bob's Burgers Reddit is fucking on point.
My God, I was blown away by this comment.
Oh, this is, well, actually, we have two different things. This is actually funny. You can talk about this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another comment from the Reddit. And this is a thing that's like, it might not be the case, but I also wouldn't be surprised if, given what this episode is, like this might be a thing that they were researching and aware of. But like, there is like a radio comedy series from the 30s and 40s called the Johnson Wax Program that's also known as Fibber, McGee, and Molly. That was about a husband and wife, and a very recurring gag was a messy closet that always had stuff falling out of it whenever Fibber opened it, and would always be claiming like, someday I got to clean out that closet. That was just like a recurring gag. So in this episode about old timey radio, like it could be a coincidence, because I also can see the logic of just starting an episode about cleaning out the closet, because that's very real. But if it is, it could be inspired by, or it might just be a coincidence that there was a famous old timey radio program, or at least well-known one or popular one, that had that exact gag about stuff falling out of a closet on a husband and wife.
No, I love that. I love that so much. The note that I grabbed was from the user Another Corgi, and I'm not going to read this in its entirety. Suffice to say, the radio probably couldn't have existed in this time frame because of the invention of FM radio being fairly late, and Bob noting that this was an AM FM radio with shortwave. If it had existed, it would probably be a very valuable heirloom.
I think there's a couple of other things in the episode too, where like the date maybe doesn't make a lot of sense, like given where World War II was, or like what German spies would be like, if they would be really operating in the US in the same way or whatever. But I mean, I think what you can easily chalk a lot of this up to is that like it's Bob telling a story, and he could be an unreliable narrator. We don't know, and we never have any, we don't have any confirmation on what of this is true or not, other than we know that there's like a newspaper headline that they show at the end. So we know that like some version of this happened, but he might literally just be remembering the date wrong, or also not really know the mechanics of the radio and just called it something that it isn't, So
yeah. I just love that this user like still framed and wrote down the available megahertz and made some assumptions based on when megahertz were discovered. And I just thought that was neat. That's the sort of thing that I like to do, except I don't know anything about radios.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is funny. I mean, it is a kind of rabbit hole, because that's, people, there's obviously a subset of people that are like really super into radio, which is really fucking cool.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it is fun to like, I appreciate the detail that went into designing this radio, because it does have like clearly marked things on it, stuff that I don't really know, what it really means, other than those are the numbers that mean a channel. But like people who are into radio do know, and it's really fun that you can just take a still shot of that and look at it in detail. Yeah. Like, that's something that much as I love classic Simpsons, if they had an old timey radio, it would just be like a crudely John radio with a couple numbers on it, you know?
Exactly.
So it's a really fun attention to detail that this show has sometimes.
Derek, did you ever fuck around with like ham radio or anything? Were you like an AV kid?
No, not really. I think it's cool. And I think maybe in a different, in different circumstances, I might have been, because I do like retro tech, you know, but radio just wasn't the thing I was into. I like, audio visual stuff more than just audio stuff, I think, when it comes to equipment like that. But it's cool as hell. I love it.
Oh, it's so cool. I had a friend in elementary school, because I was a big nerd. So naturally I would have big nerd friends who played chess via ham radio or short radio, one of those radio types.
Yeah.
Again, it's not my thing, but
I mean, that's
play
cool.
chess with like 6 people at the same time.
It's like, I mean, it's just the precursor to like gaming over Zoom. Like,
yeah. Oh,
that's
exactly. Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure now you would just do it on the internet, but this was pre-internet.
Yeah. We also have the fun stuff. I just like how like real this is, because like Bob comes in from the shower in his towel and his whole family is in the bedroom right now. And he's like, oh, you're all here. Huh? Well, sorry, there's going to be nudity now. Which again, it's like so fucking real when you're just like a family, and it's just sort of like, you would like to have your privacy, but also you have 3 children. You're not going to fucking ever have your privacy. And so he has to do the thing that I've done before, and I've seen other parents do before, where you have to like get dressed with your towel on, covering everything. I think that there's an implication that he just goes commando, because you never see him put underwear on.
Yeah.
He just puts the pants on under the towel, which I kind of love, which like, hey, Bob, let me see the dick print under those sweatpants.
Yeah, seriously. we all know that Bob is a bisexual icon. Like, it's well established in the world.
Look, I called him a sex symbol at the top for a reason.
He is a sex symbol.
I also like that, like, in addition, for one, they animate his whole process of like getting dressed with the towel over him as he's talking to them, like, which they, it's just a fun little flourish as he's doing that in the background. But also through the whole episode, like, they're all like barefoot because they're just hanging out in the bedroom. Which, like, there's no reason for that. I would just buy them all being in their regular character designs. But the fact that they choose to have them not wearing shoes or only being in socks or whatever, it's just fun because it's very real.
Yeah. And when he introduces this concept of the story, he's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I told you the story, but I haven't told it to you in a while. And you can watch as like Tina, who's the oldest, like is like, oh, yeah, I remember it was sort of about a spy. And Linda, who's probably heard it 3 or 4 times, is like, yeah, I don't really remember what happens because I love you, but I don't listen to you. Like, It's just all so very it's telling a story from the very beginning, and yet it also feels very in media res. So it's doing sort of both things at once, which is impressive.
Yeah, I think this show feels so lived in, I think is an appeal that I guess I never really thought about it, but like, I think that's part of what makes these characters. I mean, it is literally because it's like in season 13 now, but I do feel like even in the early years, it's like they feel less like sitcom characters because they do feel like a family that is like so intimately familiar with each other, because they are a family that's like very close, that like they can just, it wouldn't make sense for this to be the first time Bob has ever told this story, but it would make sense that because it's just their dad, that it's a thing that their kids, that, the family members have never really taken that seriously before or barely remember. So it is kind of like they're hearing it for the first time, even though we know that they haven't. Like, that's fucking realistic. I know my parents have told me the same story like 40 times in my life, and it maybe only really registered with me after I hit a certain age and can actually understand how cool the story was,
Or like Tina, you were like, yeah, that was the one that had a spy in it, but didn't clock that it was mostly 80% crying baby.
Right.
I think the other thing that's important for us to note, if you are a listener who hasn't like watched every episode of Bob's Burgers, which is fine, neither have Derek or I, but we don't actually hear a lot about Bob's mother and Bob's mother's side of the family. This is sort of new terrain for us. Only in the film did we get to see Lily, who's Bob's mother. And so it was part of like Louise's emotional climax. We hear so much more about the paternal side because that's the restaurateur side. Bob is a 3rd generation restaurateur. His father ran a diner. His grandfather ran a diner. Like, so I don't know. It's kind of cool that we're also exploring a different side of Bob's family.
Yeah. And in a really, I don't know, in a way that you never would have expected. Either.
Exactly. In like a sort of Hitchcockian horror. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, so that's when he starts telling the story, which again is taking place in 1941 Brooklyn, about Bob's grandmother Bob's
grandmother Alice and
grandmother Alice and
Gertie.
great grandmother Lily. Yes. So yes, Alice is Bob's grandmother and Lily is her mother. Right?
Lily is the baby. Yeah. So Gertie.
No. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. We need I should have drawn a genogram for this. Gertie is his great grandmother. Alice is his grandmother. Lily is his mother.
Okay. And Cristin Milioti is playing Alice, who is Bob's grandmother in the story, who is the main character.
Yeah.
Lily is his mom, is only an infant. Because that is how family genealogy works.
Yeah, that's correct.
And Lily, as this baby, is having trouble sleeping, so Alice would play static on the radio, basically like a white noise machine, essentially. Would play static on the radio to help her sleep. We learn a few things here that's sort of part of the setup for all of this. Alice's husband, Billy, is overseas, so she's basically, at this moment, basically a single mother, with her mother, Gertie, helping take care of Lily and taking care of his pigeon coop on the roof, which will be an important plot element later.
Right.
Is singing to her daughter, and it's a really creative way to give like exposition, essentially. Actually, I'm underselling it. It's actually really fucking cool because there's two things that are happening here. Because Milioti's really good at this sort of like whisper singing that she's doing to her baby. It's not like a musical sequence. Like, I don't want to make it sound wrong. I'll put the clip in. But she's doing this like tired whisper singing to her baby, like trying to get her baby to go to sleep as the static is like playing in the background. So it's just like classic exhausted mom stuff. And all she can do is just like sing about the things that she's actually seeing in her neighborhood because she's so tired she can't come up with a nursery rhyme at this point, which then means that she's singing about all the people that she spots outside of her window, which are all characters and elements that are going to come into play in the mystery or like be a red herring later. So we're getting all of this like information and exposition just from this like tired mom singing, desperately trying to get her baby to go to sleep by singing to her.
Okay, eyes are starting to close. Go to sleep. There's the guy that, like, I think his name is Rolo. I never say it because I'm not confident that it's Rolo. Why is he taking the trash out so late at night? Maybe it smells. And there's my neighbor, Mr. Miller, just leaving food for the stray cats and probably stray raccoons. I guess that all raccoons are technically stray.
Aw, old-timey raccoons. More about them? No, never mind. Keep going.
And there's my other neighbor, Peter, coming home from the shipyard. Working kind of late there, Peter. Second shift, probably. I'm running out of stuff to sing. Oh, you're asleep, thank God.
Yeah, I watched this quite a few times trying to discern the tune, and there is not one. So as you listen to this, there's just, either she stops and starts a different tune. Like, I can't get my mind around just extemporaneously making up a different tune every time.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It is incredible. I love Gertie sort of unapologetically in this episode. She has some of the best one-liners to me. I love Alice saying like, "Oh, can we just keep the channel on this static? I really appreciate it." And Gertie being like, "Yeah, that's great, but like, I don't want to listen to the crying baby static channel." It's such a good read from like an old cranky grandmother.
Yeah.
And then Derek talked about the time earlier, and it's certainly feasible that like armed service members have been overseas even when we're not involved with wars. But 1941 would be a little early for us to like deploy an overseas contingent to be part of the war. So he could certainly be overseas though.
Yeah, sure. Or he could be lying and
he's actually the spy.
Yeah.
Twist. No, just kidding. That's not going to happen. We do cut to a few hours later. Lily is awake again, crying. Alice goes to turn on the radio, but she doesn't find the static channel that she's looking for, and instead hears a conversation in German which mentions the shipyard they live near. The lack of static causes Lily to cry, and her cries are heard coming through the radio. She also then excites the pigeons up on the roof, and Alice can hear the pigeons on the radio, so she knows that this German transmission is coming from the roof.
Okay, that's like legit. It's like legit creepy, honestly.
It is
like
creepy.
That again, when I say like this episode plays this part of the story straight, like that would be right out of a movie like this, of like the weird, because that's like it's like part of the appeal of like a paranoia thriller. This episode doesn't go too hard on this aspect of it. Well, no, it kind of does a little bit of like always questioning what's real or not, right? And so you have this tired mom where she could just be hearing voices through the radio because she's fucking exhausted and in like a half asleep daze, right? Like that's pulled right out of a movie like what they're riffing on. And it's, I mean, like it is what it is. It's really creepy to be like realizing like you're hearing yourself through the radio. Like that's fucking, the danger is like coming from inside the house potentially.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Rear Window, but doesn't one of his girlfriend or his like buddy come over and is like, you're just imagining that these people are like doing this thing, like it's not real. You're just really bored.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it too, but it's hard because I feel like it's also easy to conflate it with like every other paranoia thriller that exists where that happens. Really, but I can't imagine that doesn't happen in Rear Window because he like gradually kind of goes a little bit off the deep end after a while. So I think you're totally right. But even, stuff like Vertigo and stuff like that, it's always just like playing with your head a little bit. And even if you're fully, with the main character and buying what they have to say, it would make sense for everyone around them to not believe them,
100%.
So
yeah. I like to close off the scene. Gene says Der Kommissar's in town in reaction to that there's a German spy on the roof. I thought that maybe this was a reference to something. I think it just is a way of saying like, watch out, there's a German upstairs. Like it literally means the commissioner is upstairs. There's a song called Der Kommissar, but it had nothing to do with this.
He does make a Flowers in the Attic reference.
The spy on the roof. That's so much worse than when we had that squirrel in the attic.
We named him Flowers.
Yes. Yeah, it's a subtle thing. And talk about like gaslighting yourself, because I was like, oh my God, is Flowers in the Attic about a German spy?
Okay, well, that's a little far. I don't know why you would make that connection, but I like it because you would totally miss you if you don't know what they're referencing.
Yeah.
But it would still sound funny if you didn't know what they're referencing, that they named a squirrel Flowers, I guess.
Right. We come back from commercial. Bob is continuing the story. Alice puts Lily back to sleep, goes upstairs to the roof to investigate, but the roof is empty. She discovers, though, a footprint in the pigeon poop. And on Alice's way back, she bumps into her neighbor, Peter, who she earlier sang about working at the shipyard, and he seems very nervous. She checks his shoes, though, and sees no poop.
I love just like one thing, actually, this is a thing that pops up a lot in this episode of like characters having pretty realistic reactions to Alice being in a paranoia thriller, basically.
Right.
Because she's freaking out, trying to like deduce, like, is this the man from the roof? And is like trying to like see his feet. And then and in a lot of movies like that, they would just be like, okay, anyway, just be like oblivious. But this dude's just like,
are you looking at my feet?
My back just went out. Oh, ow.
Oh, should I have...
Oh my God, it's better. Silly back.
Oh.
Anyway, good luck with making boats.
she's like, oh no, my back just went out. He's like, oh, are you okay? Oh no, it's fine now. And it's just like, she's a really bad liar. He's easily catching on to what's going on. But because he's like not in the same movie that she is, basically,
right?
He's just like, why is this lady acting weird? Anyway, I'm just gonna go away, I guess. Like, it's really well done.
It was like the first laugh out loud moment for me of her being like, oh, my back's fine. You know how backs are. Sorry.
Yeah, she's such a bad liar. It's so funny.
So many times in this episode, she is just such a bad liar.
Yeah.
Which is, you know what? Bob is also a really bad liar. So that's a nice little part of like character development too.
Yeah. Also, it's also very Bob's Burgers to have pigeon poop be a major plot element and played straight. Like they say poop a lot and say like a poop print and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, it is genuinely and in like the key part of the mystery. And like they're not doing gross out comedy. It's just like a part of an element in the plot, which is just a fun way to infuse Bob's Burgers-ness into the story.
Even the closest we get to it is her just being like, oh, I should have worn shoes while I was up here, noticing the poop. And then her like apologizing to the birds that they like poop. Like it's almost surrealistic, but it's what I would do. I would probably walk upstairs barefoot and be like, oh, fuck, I really should have put shoes on. There's like pigeon shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Not your fault, pigeons. Don't worry about it. Like I could see myself doing that 100%.
Right.
It's not their fault to poop.
Well, we get what we were talking about before with people just not believing what's going on because Alice tries to tell the story to her mother Gertie, who is obviously like, sure, honey, you're tired.
And you're sure you weren't dreaming this?
Ma, this happened. I am 89% sure.
Alice, honey, look at you. You're exhausted. You poured coffee in your oatmeal and you've been stirring it for the last 5 minutes.
What? Why didn't you tell me?
I thought you were being more efficient about breakfast or something.
Oh my God.
And we have this bit. I fucking love it so much. She's like, oh, I know that you're tired. You've been stirring the coffee in your oatmeal for 5 minutes, which again would be like a thing which is sort of like, that's just evidence of how tired you are. And like in any movie or sitcom or whatever, just be like, oh, that's kind of funny. But Alice has like the very real reaction of, I've been doing it for 5 minutes. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you being like watching me do this?
I just thought you wanted to be more efficient with your breakfast. And honestly, like, wow. I'm going to try putting coffee in oatmeal. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a shot.
I don't think that's a
Would
bad
it be bad?
I don't think so, because I feel like coffee and like cinnamon and like brown sugar and like maple flavor go well together, and all of those things are good in oatmeal. So I don't see why that would. Yeah. I think that would taste fine, honestly.
Like don't put it in your peaches and cream instant mix, but like regular oatmeal. Yeah, I'm gonna do that tomorrow morning.
Or like your brown sugar oatmeal or something like that. Like that would all be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what, Alice, you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, honestly.
Gertie, though, does take Lily to the store so that Alice has a chance to rest, which is really appreciated, I think. And that we get a little time skip. Alice has taken a little nap. She's doing laundry, and she goes to the window while she's folding socks and sees her neighbor, Peter, and another man exchanging something in secret. Alice goes down to see more, but when she arrives, they're gone. And that's when Gertie and Mr. Miller come up, and they both like remark on how obsessed she is with the comings and goings of neighbors, because she talks about another neighbor bringing out his trash, and it's a little much for a woman in a bathrobe, you know?
Yeah, and this is our first appearance of Mr. Miller, who obviously is an important plot. But I do like I like how they introduce all of his elements, because it's sort of like, if you're familiar with this type of story, you can probably guess like, oh, these are the most suspicious people, so they're probably red herrings. And then you have this guy who's like meant to be not suspicious at all, so probably he's like the real dude or something like that. Though I'll talk about where my brain was at throughout this as we get through the reveals. But I like this introduction here because it's just like an old guy that's like flirting with Gertie. But also
they're so horny for each other, Dick. They're so horny for each other.
They're so horny. And I like the scene too, because like he gets all the information about what's going on, but is also just like kind of acting very oblivious to it. It's just sort of like,
well, you do have the prettiest varicose veins of anyone I know.
Yeah, well, I bet yours aren't too shabby either, mister.
Gertie was getting flirty.
So, dear, what are you doing out here in your bathrobe? Not that Lily's embarrassed of you at all.
Oh, I just saw our neighbor, Peter. Another guy handed him something.
Is this about the spy stuff again?
Oh, shush.
My daughter thinks she heard a German spy on our roof last night. She is no more Eepsley.
You know, I thought I heard Fred Astaire above my apartment, but I think it's just that my neighbors must have extra loud shoes.
Extra loud shoes. You're too much. You should go up there and threaten to ginger them right in the Rogers, if you know what I mean.
He's taking out his trash again already?
Good Lord, Alice. Are you keeping tabs on everyone? You try to raise him to be not too creepy, and look what you get.
I don't have them yet, but someone complimenting your varicose veins probably is like a surefire way to get me to bed, I think.
Yeah. I kind of like that. Yeah.
I think that's hot. I think, you know what? Give me what I got. Give me what I got going on here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like that. Let old people fuck.
Yeah, let them fuck. I love the interstitial of Louise being like, don't do laundry, go catch the spy. And then Linda going, well, I guess even if there is a spy, you've got to do laundry. It's such a mom way of like being in the story.
Well, back up in the apartment, Alice is, of course, listening to the static station. It's making it very, and Lily is awake. So it's like this, she shouldn't be. So it's making it very clear that this is becoming an obsession for her to like listen for any of these like spy transmissions, which, you know, again, to anyone outside of Alice, it's going to be like, is this bitch going cray though? It feels like it. She again sees Peter out the window, and they have this like creepy moment where like he sees, like acknowledges her, like he sees her, which is like the most terrifying thing. If you're watching someone and they see you, like that, there's like a visceral like fear, like primal fear almost, like the predator has spotted me.
Right. I remember this from when I was in an apartment, and I would like look through the little slats of my like cheapest blinds you could possibly buy in an apartment, and you'd see someone looking at you and you'd be like, oh my God, can they see me? Like, and then you'd like run away. And why would I do that? Why was I looking in the first place?
And that's also right out of this type of movie too. It's sort of like, oh, and it almost sometimes will almost feel supernatural because it's sort of like, they're so far away. How can they see me? Do they see me, or am I just like hallucinating that they're just looking in my direction? You know? Right. It's so good. Yeah.
Because the visual storytelling here is like this man is in the house with her, and then she goes to look back, and then he's gone, and that's when there's the knock at the door, and that like raised my hackles, which was incredible.
It's legitimately like tense. It's like so good. The only reason that it isn't like a tense episode is because you constantly have the kids breaking in with their funny narration and cracking jokes and stuff as this is happening.
Yeah, we get one from Gene to wrap up the scene, which is he can radio secrets to the Germans, but he can't call me from coming over. Rude Nazi. Great. I don't know. You know, if I had to pick a kid, I might say that Gene's my favorite. I love Gene so much. I think he is so bonkers bizarre.
I think this show, huge credit to them that they have 3 kid actors who were very different, or not kid actors, kid characters who were very different. And anyone that anyone would ever pick as saying is their favorite is like legit. Like, you know, with the Simpsons, no one's going to be like, Maggie's my favorite Simpson. And like between Bart and Lisa, like I feel like it's very clear like what personality type you are. But 100%. With these, like, it's honestly kind of like a wild card thing. Like any character that you could have said any of these 3 kids, and I would have been like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. Like, I don't really know who I would consider my favorite because it kind of depends on the day in the episode, because they're all like really fucking good in wildly different ways, you know?
You're right. Because like I love Louise, because I love Kristen Schaal. Like she's so good. And like also props to Kristen Schaal of being like the only woman in the voice cast.
Oh, and she has talked about that before. And she's called out. She's called them out on that.
At like Comic-Con, she did it on stage, and I was like, go girl, go.
Yeah. I fucking love it. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love Dan Mitz. I think he's fantastic. I love John Roberts. I think he's fantastic. But like those are, you know, it's hard, I think, to be a woman in media.
I think that's always going to be the weirdest conversation with Bob's Burgers, where it's just sort of like, yes, these were the perfect casting choices, but yes, it does feel weird that there's there's almost no women in this cast.
I think if you saw them on a panel, you'd have to be like, yeah, we need to talk about this real quick.
Right. Yeah, it's fair. And it's just like, there's no solution to it, because I would never ask them to be recast either. And I don't know that I would say that you shouldn't have done that in the first place, because I feel like the reason these characters exist in the way that they do is because of the actors playing them.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's barely their fault. It's like an institutional problem, you know? Like if women got roles all the time willy-nilly, it wouldn't really be a big deal. You know, so yeah, it's a weird space that they're in. I think everybody's just sort of mutually accepting that it's sort of like, it's weird.
It sucks, but like we can't
but it's great. But it's a good show, so you know, what can you do?
Well, we come back from the commercial, and Bob's continuing to tell the story to his very excited family. And again, this is it's such a beautiful thing for them to be so into it, even though we know that Tina has heard the story before, clearly, and we know that Linda has heard the story before. But it's Louise in particular who is just so amped about what comes next that she even calls Bob father. And it's just really, really cute. Father, go on. Well, Alice answers the door, and it's Mr. Miller, who has brought flowers for Gertie. Nice try, Mr. Miller. Alice invites him in. Mr. Miller offers to hold Lily, and Alice hands her over in order to make tea. She's asking if he knows anything about Peter, and he answers. But while he's answering that question, Lily drops her little rattle. Alice goes to pick it up, and that's when she sees pigeon poop on the bottom of Mr. Miller's shoe.
Okay. Here's been my thought process for this episode is
Do
that
it.
I mean, I wasn't trying to like solve it because I didn't know how much of this is going to be a mystery. My whole thought process throughout this episode was like, it's going to all turn out to be a misunderstanding anyway. They're not going to really have like a German spy or something. So I wasn't even really looking for a bad guy. So honestly, I was gagged when I saw the fucking poop on this dude's foot. Like, and then in retrospect, it's sort of like, of course it's this guy. Like everybody else is too obvious and there's no other character it could be. But I wasn't expecting there to be like a poop reveal really at all. I'd expecting everything to have some funny, silly like reveal for what it actually was. And it was all a misunderstanding. So to have this, I'm still in it with the assumption that it's going to turn out to be a misunderstanding. But even with that said, and especially on rewatch when you know what's really going on, the scene is so fucking good because it's so tense.
It's so tense. I was with you. I didn't think that it was going to turn out to be nothing. I thought that he had poop on his shoe because he was taking care of the pigeons as a way to get into Gertie's pants. Because that's the only thing I knew about his character.
Which makes sense. It makes sense.
He was horny for this woman.
Yeah.
And so I was also like jaw dropped when he like tries to kill her in the next scene.
It's so fucking. It was until the moment we're skipping ahead. It's until the moment that he rips the fucking phone cord out of the wall. That was the moment where I'm like, wait, this is real?
This is not a misunderstanding, and he's not just weird because he's a weird dude.
Like,
he's actually like a murderer.
That's when it's sort of like, oh, this isn't meant to be a parody or a riff or an homage. They are just doing the story. They are playing this completely straight. It's so fucking wild.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
We're about to get there. But first we got to do this little bit with Milioti and the tea kettle. And this was the only time that I could hear her voice coming through.
I don't care because it's so fucking funny.
And that's when Alice saw it. She knew immediately what that white smear was.
Shoe poop.
Shoe. What's that, honey?
I got surprised by the kettle. Why did it make him so loud? I'm right here. You don't gotta like scream and whistle so loud.
Well, no, you made a sound, and I said, what's that, hon? And then the kettle started whistling, so you must have made a sound for some other reason.
Oh, you're right. Gosh, it was so long ago, I don't even remember. Here, let me take Lily back. I don't want her spitting up on you again. I could just take her back.
Oh, good. Yes, take the baby back.
You want that baby back, baby back, baby back.
Gee.
Sorry.
So funny. I mean, I don't think it beats Marge's two tea kettles from The Simpsons, but it's definitely my second favorite tea kettle business of her being like, why are they so...
No, the way that the delivery is so good. She's like, I got surprised by the kettle. Oh, why do they make them so loud? Like, I'm right here. And then she just like starts mumbling and like just trailing off.
You get a bit from him being like, no, you didn't react to the tea kettle. You said, oh, before the tea kettle went off.
That was the other thing when I'm saying people in this episode, like recognize, like they act like what real people would act like in this situation rather than being in the movie. Because in a movie like this, or a parody or whatever, normally people would just kind of go along with it or just be like, are you okay, dear? You're acting strange. But this guy's just sort of like, no, I was literally just here. You made the noise before the tea kettle went off, so you're clearly just lying right now. Why did you just lie to me? and then her response is, gosh, it was so long ago, I don't even remember.
It's bizarre. And then, but if you didn't have any of the dialogue and all you had was the background instrumentals and the visuals, it's really, really tense because we've got like strings going on. It tells you this is tense. I was never sure if we were like really being tense or faking me out. It's so good. So good.
Yeah. And he's holding the baby. Right? Like during this sequence. Like that's what makes it scary. Like the second, like that's what makes it so good is that she puts the pieces together that he is the spy as he's holding her baby in his arms in her kitchen. Like the worst moment to make this connection and realize you have the bad guy in your apartment right now.
Yeah. She does get the baby back. We get a nice little aside from Linda being like, oh, thank goodness, the poor baby. Like, you know the baby is okay because she fathered your husband, but whatever.
Right.
And this is when Alice excuses herself. She says she's going to change Lily's diaper. And again, we get some great moments of him being like, she didn't smell to me. And Alice being like, oh, sometimes they poop and you can't smell it.
It's so good. Just so bad.
Not true. Not true. In case you've never held a child, you can always tell.
Yeah. There's also, I think it's about this. Oh, you have that in the notes.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll talk about it now because now's the time, because they're sort of doing this back and forth, and we get a split diopter shot, which is this thing that you do in thriller and action movies to make things look really, really close. You don't need to do that in flat animation because it's flat fucking animation. So how they do it is they actually they blur the side of Alice's head to create this visual imagery that you would see in a thriller movie, and it's very unsettling.
Yeah, it's not a thing you ever see in animation. It's basically it's a type of deep focus. If you have ever heard of deep focus, it's when background and foreground are both in focus.
Right.
And that deep focus in general is definitely in Hitchcock movies. But this particular technique, I think, is more of a Brian De Palma thing. You don't start seeing this until more the 70s. But the split diopter is a type of deep focus where it's not that the entire deep focus basically puts the entire frame in focus, which is an odd effect because obviously when you're normally seeing things, the thing in the foreground is in focus unless you're focusing on something specific. And when everything's in focus, it gives you a very particular visual effect where you're sort of seeing I don't know, I guess it makes things feel just wider and bigger and deeper. That's why it's deep focus, right? Because you're seeing everything. Split diopter is interesting because it's sort of focusing on two different planes, but it's not a continuous focus. So you were saying, there's a weird blurring effect between the two planes that are in focus. So you get this weird kind of disorienting effect because there's two objects that are standing out in this frame where everything else is blurred. But because they don't exist on the same plane and your brain recognizes this person is closer to the camera, this person is farther away from the camera, but visually they look like they're on the same plane because they're both in focus, but we know that they're not. And that gives you this sort of disorienting effect because your brain recognizes that that's not how it should look. And then that reflects the disoriented, stressed out tension of being in the situation that she's in, which again, it's cool when it's utilized in film, but in animation, you don't have a camera in the same way.
There's no natural way to get this. You have to go out of your way to force this into it.
And so, and the fact that they added this flourish to it, this was really the main thing I was thinking of at the top of the episode with it sort of seemed like this idea inspired them to use different camera techniques, and basically simulate a camera technique in animation. It's so fucking cool. And it's just for one brief frame that it's on screen. It's it's so brief, but it's so effective when you see it because suddenly it's sort of it evokes so much stress and tension from Alice in that moment. It's so good.
Yeah. I don't even think you need to obviously we have a podcast where we talk about this shit, but I don't think you need to cognitively see this to not I think there are certain visual cues that give us that vibe or feeling, even if you don't recognize where they come from. And this is, I think, one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So fucking
I just
cool.
know that I was told to never use deep focus in my beginner's photography class. Pick a thing and look at, never look at everything because it'll be not what you want.
Yeah. Well, I think you utilize it in particular settings. I don't think you would shoot a whole movie in deep focus, but if you have a certain scene that is, then it's going to evoke a different feeling than the rest of it. I know in All the President's Men, that movie uses it in very particular moments, effectively. It's just like any camera technique. You just can't overuse it. You can't just use it for no reason just because it looks cool. Yeah. If you shot a whole movie in split diopter, what the fuck would that be?
You know what? Go for it, film students. Go for it. I don't know. I dated some guys who were in film programs. I'm sure that they have a short film that's just all in one of these methods.
Probably miserable to watch.
please look me up, friends. Okay, so Alice has now excused herself from the kitchen. She's going to call the police because she has a German spy in her kitchen, but the police don't believe her.
Of course not.
Story of fucking Alice's life here.
My note for this was just in all caps, believe women.
I know, right? Jesus Christ, y'all.
Yes, I have a German spy in my kitchen.
What? Can you speak up? It's hard to hear you.
Well, I can't talk that loudly because of the German spy that's in my kitchen right now.
All right. Why do you think this person is a spy?
Because of the pigeon poop on his shoes.
Okay.
It's from the roof where the pigeons are. That's where he sends his messages in the middle of the night.
Sure. And what does he say in these messages?
I don't know. I don't speak German.
Well, don't get testy, young lady. Oh, do I hear a baby?
Yes, there's a baby.
That's nice. You must be pretty sleepy most of the time, right? Maybe you got mixed up about this whole spy thing?
What? No, there is a spy in my apartment, okay?
There you go, getting testy again. Ma'am, I gotta take a real call. You take care now.
No.
But I guess 1941, like, you know, this is an accurate telling of the situation.
She doesn't describe it very well. She leads with the pigeon poop part, which is not smart.
That's fair. But also, I don't know. Would I call the police for a spy? I'm not sure. I don't really know. Like, my life is in danger.
I don't know what I would do in that
I think I would have
situation.
led with, like, my life is in danger. Someone's trying to kill me in my home.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, the operator doesn't believe her. Mr. Miller then comes in, and this is where we get the chilling moment where he reaches down, picks up the phone card, and snaps it apart. And then says, like, whoopsie or something. Like, it's still, like, almost charming, but
not really. He says it menacingly.
Yeah,
He's just like,
you're
"Whoopsie."
right.
Like
Yeah.
that feels like it would be right out of an actual movie. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because that's the whole deal. Is that like he's playing this like nice older man, this just like kind neighborly old guy who's just sort of oblivious and everything, and then it's just sort of like oopsie. Like that's fucking terrifying.
Right. And also in this part is where we, as he comes into this bedroom, she's sort of scrolled the phone away into, is where we get him in the reflection of the mirror on the dresser over her shoulder. And we're using that way to like box her in, because to us, the room has no dimensions because it's animated, but that gives it dimension by making her feel trapped. It
does. And it's perfect too, because she was trying to sort of hide from him making this phone call. She was in the room in darkness. So he shows up and is coming from the hallway where there was light. And so that means it's sort of like almost like this like dark silhouetted figure in the light, coming to her trapped in the darkness right now, like with literally no way out. It's legit creepy. Like if you saw this visualized in live action, it would be a well shot, creepy thriller suspenseful scene.
Yeah. But that obviously takes us to commercial. When we come back, we're back with Bob and the kids, which I was like, no, go back to Alice. Go back to Alice.
I know, right?
And we spend a little time with them, which is kind of fun. And again, it's Louise like saying like, no, the stakes are really high, Dad. You've got to keep on going with the story.
Yeah, I do I don't remember when he says this, but there's one point when, you know, after they figured out that Mr. Miller's the bad guy and Jean just says, swipe left, Gertie.
Yes. It's so good. Oh, Gene, bless you. We're back to the story. Alice is backed into the room. She tries to talk her way out, but Mr. Miller is murderous. He's wrapping the phone cord over and over again in his hands to make a garrote. Is that what that's called? Like a...
I don't know what it's called, but yeah, he's going to strangle her, basically.
Yeah, he's going to strangle her with the phone cord. What a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alice.
Don't do anything rash, Mr. Miller. Think of Lily.
Your mother will take care of Lily.
Oh, no. She's a better grandmother than a mother. You gotta trust me on this.
I'm back.
Just then, Gertie came back home.
I forgot my wallet. I walked all the way to Doris's and she said, I hope you brought your money. And I said, I'll be right back. Oh, Mr. Miller.
Oh, Gertie. Oh, dear.
Are you okay? You look sweaty.
Oh, he's the spy! He's the spy!
Oh, Alice. Oh, Alice.
Alice saw her chance. She used her free arm and all her strength to tip the radio over onto Mr. Miller's foot.
But Gertie comes home because she forgot her wallet. She had left earlier to go gamble with her friends and had just forgotten to bring her cash. So she just happens to come back.
Dude, Linda Lavin's delivery, it's so like she's really fun in this episode, but I think what like nails her for me is the delivery of like, you know, Alice is back there like, no, Mr. Miller, he's the spy. And at first Alice like doesn't believe her. She's like, oh, Alice. And then she sees the phone cord in his hand that he's preparing to strangle her and the look on his face. And then it goes, Oh, Alice!
Yes,
like
it's so good.
It's so fucking good. And that's just like the transformative moment. Like that's all she has to say to be like, I believe you. I understand what's happening. We're in danger now. Like and it's like within the span of a couple of seconds. This all happens so fast. So fucking fast.
Yeah. Because we're in Act 4 of an animated series, so like we have like 90 seconds to do the rest of the episode. It's amazingly quick here. Alice uses this opportunity to push the heavy radio, Chekhov's heavy radio, onto Mr. Miller's foot.
It looks so good.
So good.
And like
impossibly well animated.
It's bananas because and they do these really cool things with zooms. Like they zoom in on Alice as she's like going for the radio. There's like a Zolly shot that they do on Gertie as she's seeing this happen. Like it's so like, and again, these are for like a half a second. Like they don't have to go this hard on it because it happens so quickly. But every frame that you see as this is happening is like a different camera technique they're using.
Yeah.
And then the fluidity of seeing the radio fall on him and then him reacting and him like hopping on his foot after it falls on him. Like you have to just watch it. I can't describe it. It's just like they put so much detail in every bit of movement that happens here. It looks fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, but we're talking fractions of a second. We get a half second. I actually like slowed it down and timed it. It was a half second on his distorted face of pain before cutting to them running out of the house. Like it is, or him then grabbing her foot. Like it's just it's frenetic. It's good. It is climax.
It's incredible. I mean, it's the kind of thing where like, when you talk about the movie, the reason that you do a movie version is because you have more money and therefore you can do these flourishes throughout it. This is like the movie quality animation in this one little sequence. It's really incredible.
Yeah, someone on that Reddit forum posted that I think all the money for this episode went in clearing Radio Gaga, which is the outro episode song. But no, like all the money went right here, right now for this like 30 seconds of action.
It's like every frame that you pause, like I paused it at one point just to like take notes, and like every time I'd pause it, every frame was like the coolest looking action shot.
So good.
The facial expressions, even on the baby, like if you watch the baby's face, because she's holding the baby as she knocks the radio down, the baby reacts to all of this. Like it's so well detailed.
I'm going to have to rewatch that because I did not look at Lily while this was all happening. That is so good. Well, we hear from Bob that Alice and Gertie made it out. They called the police and they arrested Mr. Miller and busted a Nazi spy ring. Derek said it. We get a clip of a newspaper that she's on the front page that she did it.
It's fucking real. I love that like they just go hard on this. Just like there's no ambiguity. There's no misunderstanding. There's no comedy reveal. It's like this really happened. This was just a cool, wild family story that has just been more or less lost to time, that only still is kept alive by the family members like telling it.
Yeah.
Every so often. I mean, that's sort of what they land on with the importance of the radio, that like the radio itself, the reason that they're keeping it is because it's keeping the story alive. And it's really the only thing that would, because no one else in the world would really care about the story, even though it's a really fucking cool story,
Oh, Bob, I forgot how amazing your grandma was. I'm sorry I wanted you to get rid of the radio. You know I forget things. Most of my brain is Dynasty trivia.
Yeah, she was amazing. And holding on to the radio helps keep the story alive,
Well, I can't wait until I get to take down a Nazi spy. I'm assuming everyone in our family will get that chance.
I'll take down a Nazi spy.
I'll take down Mort.
Oh, my courageous cutie pies. You too, Bobby.
I mean, not like Alice.
Hey, you could hold your own, mister. You got some Alice in there. Trust me. I know you, inside and out.
TMI.
Also, Dad, maybe don't make this about you.
But
the kids do ask about the red herrings that we met in the episode, and Bob says that Peter was buying a ring to propose. His fiance lived on the block, so that's why he had to do it in secret. It was this nice little tying up, and then the kids ask about the guy who was taking out the trash all the time, and Bob first goes, "Oh yeah, he was a serial killer." Which is,
I bought it at first because I'm sort of like, you know what?
I did too.
There was almost a murder in this episode, so sure.
I did too, but then he's like, "No, I'm just kidding." It was great.
He just had a lot of trash, which I'm like, yeah, real. I feel like
real, honestly,
personally murdering the environment myself. Horrible. I'm a horrible person. It's really, it's so funny. I mean, and it's just, rapid fire getting rid of all the red herrings that are set up in a movie. And it's like, sure, it all works out fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
I do. One thing I really like you know, obviously the big part of this episode is like the genre shift and everything like that, and like the movie homage stuff. But I do think that there is something really, I think, kind of poignant that's like here about the idea of like how objects sort of help us tell stories or keep stories alive. Because I do think that, like, again, it's like they play it up with the radio, and like, I love the radio. The radio is cool. The kids are like, I want to keep it. I don't want them to inherit it. And I want to inherit it. Like,
Right.
they have fun with that.
That's really fun. Yeah.
But like, I think given that this episode started with cleaning out a closet, I do think that that is something that is such like a human part of the human experience of like, we keep all of these objects with sentimental value behind them. And the thing that makes cleaning out a closet, for example, so hard for people a lot of the time is that like, I don't need this thing and it's taking up a lot of space, but there's a reason that I have an emotional attachment to it. And sometimes it's for like silly reasons because we're humans with weird brains that form emotional attachments with nothing. But other times it is sort of like, yeah, the radio itself isn't doing anything. It's a broken radio, but it is inspiring this, like, it's inspiring us to continue telling the story from our history and basically like keep the spirit of these people who are probably long dead by now alive going forward. And every generation afterwards that has this radio will have the story attached to it. And even if they don't have as much of a personal attachment to that story, it is still a story that's kept alive, and therefore people kept alive through that story that only is being kept alive because of this object that you're keeping in your closet. And I just think there's something really beautiful about that in the way that we tell stories, you know?
Yeah, that's so poignant, Derek. And I think then it also adds this layer of like Bob and Linda's relationship, because Linda isn't mad that they're keeping the radio, but it was her idea to get rid of it in the first place, even though she has heard the story. And that it makes sense because the emotional connection is Bob's. It will be Bob's. Yeah. And it seems to be inherited through the kids, and Linda can appreciate that, but it's not Linda's family radio. It's Bob's family radio. And the children they created together will inherit the love and compassion for that. And that's sort of how the idea of heirlooms passing through families can happen. Yeah. And for queer people, sometimes one of the things that we struggle with is like, who do I leave my shit to? If you don't have kids. And so it's really, how does my story continue when I'm gone? And it's something that I think we all end up reckoning with.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing that I think about sometimes, because it's just sort of like, yeah, if you don't, I mean, not, to get like super personal or anything, but it's like, I don't think that me or my siblings, any of my siblings, have expressed a desire to have children. Right. Who knows what might change, but if that is how we choose to live our lives ultimately, like our family tree just like ends there. And that is weird to think about that. And it is like all the stuff that we've inherited from, like, I have a lot of my grandparents' things, like some of my cherished kitchen things are from my grandmother. And it's like, it's really cool that I have this, and it's really cool that it's like I've had it. It's like 2 generations, a frying pan that I've had for 2 generations that I love. Where's that going to go to after I die? Like, I kind of don't want that to just go to an estate sale or something. Right. And there's obviously ways to be in a position where you have people in your life that could inherit that later, but like, it's not an obvious choice when you're not in the situation, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to like think about that's inspired by this episode that just started with cleaning out a closet. Exactly. Yeah. The power that objects have in our lives, I think is really, and I mean, like the way the episode wraps up, even though this was again an homage, like Hitchcockian thriller, the episode wraps up with them going back to the closet and having to figure out like, well, what do we keep? And everything that they name has some sentimental value to it. Yeah. And Linda's just like, never mind, let's just not clean out the closet.
Exactly. Yeah. We do shit on Linda a little bit, but then we get this really nice moment where she's really proud of all of them because they all say they would go kill Nazis. And she even says like she's proud of Bob for no particular reason. It's very, I don't know. It's very family centric. It's just cute.
Although it's funny because Bob's sort of like, I don't know that I would do it. And then Louise is like, don't make this about you, Dad. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So funny.
Wait, at least I did it with the subtitles on. He almost starts to retort that is like, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good series. We do get closing credits. I talked about this earlier. The cast sings Radio Gaga under images of the family first dancing around the radio and then riding a giant radio through the sky. It's really nice. I don't know.
Yeah, it's cute.
It's really well. I don't know. The song is great as well. Them performing it.
Yeah, it's really fun. This episode is really, really good. And I mean, again, major points to the Bob's Burgers Reddit because I feel like we got so much information from them. But
seriously,
one thing that was really cool is like just how people who are hard enough big Bob's Burgers fans to be on the Bob's Burgers Reddit and be active on there were saying that like this might be the best episode, one of the best episodes of the show.
Yeah.
Definitely the best episode of the season. And like a lot of people were saying that it was like their new favorite episode. So, you know, so I feel like I can safely say, even as someone who hasn't seen all of Bob's Burgers, this is one of the best based on what the fandom says. And it is good. It's just like when you pitch this, I didn't really know what to expect. And again, it was really just like under the guise of like, we are already planning to do a Milioti episode. So why not do another episode that has Milioti in it? And we're going to have future episodes that have Milioti in them because she's just like pops up in gimmicky episodes of TV shows all the time. So I didn't even know what I was getting into with starting to watch it. And I'm sort of like, this is so fucking.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I was a little nervous. A little nervous.
No, it's truly, I don't know why. It's a great episode.
No, it's definitely a gimmicks episode. So.
Yeah. It's like unlike, it's definitely unlike any episode of Bob's Burgers I've ever seen, but it's just, I don't know. It was a cool experiment. And I think plenty of shows do genre shifts and parodies and stuff. But I think the particular structure of this being a story narrated about a family that's like also kind of about the importance of objects in our lives and the importance of telling stories. I feel like that really spoke to me a lot, in addition to just how well they did a genre homage like this,
Yeah, I love that we did it. I love that we did it for Milioti May. Pitching Milioti May next year already in my mind. I love it because she's like unrecognizable.
Yeah,
which just speaks to her talent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
But if you were one of the people who saw this on Twitter or from the Reddit post, because Bob's Burger Reddit allows me to post episodes when they come out.
Oh boy.
So I'm glad we gave you all credit because we're posting this one in the Reddit.
Yeah, y'all seem like I shit on Reddit sometimes. Seems like a really lovely community. The Bob's Burgers Reddit seems so lovely.
Can I tell you, Reddit deserves a lot of the shit that it gets, but some of the smaller communities that are based around animation are fantastic.
Yeah, when you find a good subreddit, it's like it is truly
Life-changing.
like old school internet message board community in the most positive way. And the Bob's Burgers Reddit really feels like that to me. So like, congrats for being one of the good ones, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Versus the Simpsons subreddit, which is just your favorite jokes from seasons 2 through 5. I get it. I liked those seasons too, but it's fine. Well, Derek, anything else we need to talk about for this episode? Radio No You Didn't.
Wish it was a better title, but other than that, everything else is great. Perfect episode.
Perfect episode. Loved it. Loved the kids. Loved you catching that they were barefoot. I didn't even clock that. I'm like obsessed thinking about it now. Just all the little details. And then we got to see Bob with his shirt off. So like A+, number one. Let's go.
David just thinking about feet over here.
Are you looking at my feet, Derek? Is a clip that I will take from this episode because I might need it for some other purpose.
Sure. Okay.
Wow. I was going to say, Derek, if people want to look at your feet, where can they find you online? But
not my thing. I'm sorry. No, not to kink shame, but not a thing in any way.
Where can people find you online for not feet pictures?
Not feet. You can find me pretty much everywhere at Derek B. Gale. I have a few other podcasts that I do with our Glitter Jaw Collective. That is Walloping Web Snappers, which I do with Doug, which is a Spider-Man podcast where we do deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. Also with Doug, I do Screonk, which is a monthly Godzilla podcast where we're looking through all of the Godzilla films. And I have Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, which I do with my co-host Tommy, where we are going through all of these Simpsons tie-in video games chronologically with lots of video game history deep dives as well.
Yeah, and as for me, you can find me online as at DMuma on most social media sites, DMuma22 on Twitter. I also do another podcast here on Glitterjaw called Are You My Mother? We talked Linda Belcher with my friend Tyler, which was a great episode, fun, focusing on Linda and her birthday gone wrong. You can find that wherever you get podcasts. And then I have a new podcast that'll be coming out pretty soon, so you should check the Glitterjaw page when that gets announced this summer. Gimmicks, of course, is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts, you can check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com.
Yes, and we are going to be going on a little hiatus after this episode. We will be back in July, exact date TBA, but we will be back in July. But you are not going to go completely, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ungimmicked. You'll be gimmicked while we're gone.
Yeah, you will not go completely ungimmicked. That seems dirty to me. I don't know why. You will not go empty-handed is the phrase I was looking for.
I like that.
That's better than you will not go ungimmicked, because we are going to be re-releasing some older episodes with some new commentary. So basically, we'll have some episodes basically from the pre-David era. So we're going to drop some episodes every so often during our hiatus period with a new sort of intro that the two of us are going to record. We'll comment if I have new thoughts about an old episode that we did, or any like fun behind the scenes stuff, or if there's new news about the show that we're covering. We'll talk about it there, and then David obviously will be able to have an opportunity to give thoughts on episodes of shows that he wasn't around for. You didn't exist before.
I know. I just popped into the world.
Yeah.
I came from one of the other universes, Derek, and that's why I brought so much chaos with me.
Yeah. So look forward to that. Follow us on our social media for schedules for the episodes that we're going to have coming out throughout the next couple of months.
Yeah.
If you want to support this show by giving us a little tip, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmicks-pod. You can follow this podcast at gimmicks-pod on Twitter and Instagram. Again, that's where we'll post our schedules and updates about what's going on during the hiatus, and then when we're coming back with new episodes. And you can email us your questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmicspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all your podcast platforms. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
Radio Gaga, all we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio blah blah. So don't become some background noise, a backdrop for the girls and boys who just don't know or just don't care and just complain when you're not there. All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio Goo Goo, Radio Gaga. All we hear is Radio Gaga, Radio blah blah, Radio what's new.
And there's going to be nudity.